Welcome to this course on remote working security. My name is Paul Rogers. Just a short reminder before we start the training, be sure to subscribe and follow us on YouTube at dposolutions.privacy. So before we jump into the course objectives, let's take a look at the topics that we're going to cover in this session. First of all, we look at remote working security risks. Then we jump into Wi-Fi security, phone security, remote computer security, remote connectivity, password management, video conference security. Then we look at phishing risks, personal data storage security, the risks around PDF downloads, and 6 ways to prevent phishing. We then have some additional sections for the quiz and recap glossary, etc. So here we'll take a look at the 6 training objectives of this course. Number 1 in the list, learners will understand why remote working is generally more risky for workers than in the workplace. Number 2, learners will understand elevated risks around home browsing and the need for vigorous patching of their machines. Then 3, trainees will better understand risks around personal and work system account security. Then 4, trainees will learn about workplace security and data handling practices. Then learners will understand the importance of password managers and their security benefits. And then lastly, learners will understand risks surrounding virtual meetings and good risk prevention steps. So a common question is, why is remote working riskier than in the office? Well, main offices tend to have layers of physical and logical security that do not normally exist in the home office environment. Examples may include the physical layers of protection, such as CCTVs, keycard entry, security guards, IT support staff, and even on-site confidential disposal bins. While logical controls may include tightly locked down wireless networks and PCs, which are actively monitored in real time and can be isolated quickly if there's a problem, and can be handled by on-site staff if need be. Remote workers, on the flip side, tend to work in less tightly controlled environments, and sometimes even in public places such as in a library. This often means that Wi-Fi access is less secure, physical access to your device is less controlled, and support staff are not nearby if there's an incident on your device. In the home environment, it's more common to see non-company personal devices sharing the same Wi-Fi network as your company device. This raises the risk that an infection may spread from the personal device to your company device. So remote working brings many advantages to workers and to businesses, but the convenience brings a level of risk too. This is a result of being decentralized from the main office, where there is a concentration of security controls I mentioned in the previous slide, which are designed to protect data and employees. So 10 common risks which you should be aware of include the risk from public Wi-Fi access. This means like connecting into the corporate network via coffee shop Wi-Fi's or library Wi-Fi's, which are inherently insecure. Then there's increased exposure to phishing scams from personal and corporate email. Then the use of insecure storage, such as thumb drives and other personal devices which contain personal data, which you might find in the remote office environment. Then there's also risk from employee leavers. So people may be more likely to retain access to the corporate network after their end date if they're traditionally working from remote environments. Then there's a sense of reduced security awareness, as the tendency to let your guard down in home settings is quite common. Then there's more of a use of weak passwords, such as on personal online accounts, which are used in the home office scenario. Then we look at things like the lack of monitoring, where remote devices are less likely to be monitored by IT in the same way as they would be in the home office. So next would be the unmanaged personal devices like thumb drives and personal laptops, which may be used on the same home network as corporate devices. In video conferencing risks, which are many risks around securing login credentials, fake conference websites, and others. We'll cover this in upcoming slides. And then 10th on the list, system updates. So desktop and home Wi-Fi connected personal smart devices may not be updated as often as they should be. So the tendency might be to overlook rebooting the device or delaying some other security recommendation because they're in the home environment. So this diagram is a recap of the previous slide. It just shows you in visual form of the risks that I mentioned, the 10 risks. So starting there from the top left, the Wi-Fi connections, and then moving down to security awareness, system updates, insecure storage, employee leavers, phishing scams, weak passwords, lack of monitoring, unmanaged devices, and then video conferencing risks. This may help reinforce some of the concepts that we covered in the previous slide. So we're going to take a look here at Wi-Fi security for remote working. So wireless security is a key security consideration when working at home, as wireless networks are susceptible to certain risks such as eavesdropping and man-in-the-middle attacks. With this in mind, it's important to ensure that you take precautions such as avoiding connecting to public Wi-Fi networks, such as those that you might find in coffee shops, libraries, or other municipal Wi-Fi access points. So avoid these types of connections and use home private Wi-Fi connections or mobile hotspot access with encryption and strong Wi-Fi passwords. So other Wi-Fi steps to consider: your home wireless router should be protected with strong encryption. Password should be set to a strong one, preferably 16 characters now as the recommendation goes. You want to think about hiding the wireless SSID. That's the network ID that the wireless home network is broadcast on. And then things like maybe consider even more advanced topics such as limiting access by MAC address and ensuring that WPA2 or 3 if it's available, is enabled on the wireless router. If you have Bluetooth enabled on your computer, be sure to put it in hidden and not discoverable mode. It's also a good idea to check the devices that you're paired with under Bluetooth settings and remove unrecognized devices. The next slide gives you a quick overview of these concepts. So just a point then, I mentioned man-in-the-middle attacks. What are those? Well, man-in-the-middle attacks happen when an attacker can intercept communications from your computer and pretend wireless access point. And in some cases, the attacker is able to inject malware by appearing as if they were on the same network as your wireless network. So here are some Wi-Fi security quick tips to help you further. So firstly, avoid connecting to public Wi-Fi connections like those found in coffee shops, as I mentioned in the previous slide. And remember, hackers can intercept your wireless connection and download personal data without being detected. Avoid connecting to unknown networks, particularly ones with no passwords. And then consider using your phone instead as a temporary Wi-Fi hotspot, ensuring that only one device is allowed to connect to it. When using Wi-Fi connectivity in the home, remember to change the Wi-Fi password of your router regularly with the strong password, and remember to hide the network SSID. So what are some steps to securing your phone? Well, phone security can be fairly robust when the right features are enabled and you perform ongoing maintenance in a timely manner. So here's some things to remember then as well. Use the strongest login authentication available. This is usually fingerprint or face recognition or biometrics as it's known. If that's not available for some reason, be sure to use a strong password or at the very least a complex screen login pattern. Keep your phone's operating system and apps updated by enabling automatic updates and not delaying on manual ones requiring a reboot of your phone. Ensure that the phone automatic backup features are enabled So on Android systems, Google One, or on the Apple platform, their iCloud service. And that you also enable Find My Device feature. Device encryption may be enabled by default on your device, but it's important to check that it's enabled under security settings for the device itself, and that if there are any SD cards attached, that they are encrypted if they're inserted into your device. Also ensure that a recognized antivirus solution is installed and working on your device properly. And then lastly, that only approved apps from the App Store or the Google Play Store are installed on your device. So what about your remote computer security? Well, the first thing to remember on your remote computer is to ensure that your antivirus and desktop firewall is enabled and functioning. If there is a problem, you'll likely see a pop-up message on the desktop, which will show you some kind of a message that may need to be investigated and actioned immediately. In such cases, notify the help desk if there is a problem, and make sure that the components within your firewall, which includes within the AV, including your firewall and the internet and email screening, are all functioning properly. And the next thing to think about is patching. Patches for your operating system and desktop applications are also very important for the security of your system. Many patches require a system reboot to be fully applied. Therefore, it's important not to delay rebooting your system when prompted, as time is often of the essence in protecting your system from the latest threats. Just on a side note, patches from Microsoft are usually released on a monthly basis, what they call a Patch Tuesday, but sometimes they can be released as emergency patches. So it is important to ensure that your patches are applied within a timely fashion, particularly after the Patch Tuesday, which is the first Tuesday, as I mentioned, every month. So what about remote connectivity and VPN security? Well, VPN access to the corporate network is the primary method of providing secure connectivity to the main office. So when using VPN, there are a few tips to ensure security is maintained at all times. Number one, never share credentials, key cards, or other security devices with others, which could allow them to access the corporate network. Then, if you're stepping away from your screen for any time, make sure that your screensaver is enabled and that it turns on automatically after a minute or two when unattended. If you do suspect a security issue on your machine, do not attempt to connect with the VPN to the corporate network, as this could present a significant risk to the network, such as a ransomware outbreak or some other kind of malware outbreak. Finally, it's important to use the most up-to-date version of secure protocols. If that's not updated up already, you may have to check that the latest version of SSH or SSL, TLS, or VPN protocol is updated and that it's using the latest version of encryption. It's likely that these software updates are applied automatically for you, but just in case, you may need to periodically check that the latest security standards and patches are applied for your VPN software on your machine. So let's talk about password management and some best practices involved. So it's important to know that more than 50% of us reuse the same passwords for all our devices and online account logins, which of course is highly risky. It's highly recommended that you don't reuse passwords from other accounts for logging into devices. It's advisable where possible to use a suitable password manager to keep track of all your passwords at home. Often the most effective passwords are actually what they call passphrases, in the form of a short sentence with a mix of alphanumeric and special characters, like this derivative here, once in a while. Note the different complexity of this string, which makes it difficult for hackers to crack. It's important to change all passwords, including social media and personal email passwords regularly. It's also worthwhile noting that there are many software packages that offer password management and vaulting. Good ones offer syncing across mobile and desktop devices so that you always have access to your passwords. Also note that there is a password management video that is on my channel. So if you check out the channel, dposolutions.privacy, you will see a video which covers password management extensively. So not to belay the point from the last slide, this chart on this page will show you the relative safety according to password length. This chart comes to us from Statista. It really shows you that shorter passwords are very vulnerable to automated attacks. We see that longer passwords with an uppercase and symbol are much safer to use for accounts. It's recommending here that 12 characters and greater is the ideal length. I would even go a step further and say that 16 characters would be a better solution in this day and age. With the new capabilities of quantum computing and password cracking capabilities, it's just something to bear in mind as you're choosing a password for your online and for your work computer passwords. So in this slide, we'll take a look at video conference security. So just an interesting statistic here that Zoom and Microsoft Teams now have over 300 million meeting participants per day, which has led, unfortunately, to over 16,000 fake Zoom conference login sites alone in 2022 when last recorded. So what are some of the precautions that you might want to consider when you video conference? Video conference tools like Zoom and Microsoft Teams and Cisco WebEx have become another target for hackers, as we've seen, with the rise of remote working. There are a number of precautions to consider, however, to prevent attacks on these platforms. So one, it would be avoid clicking on links that are from unfamiliar sources. Sometimes hackers will use domain name variations for meeting links, such as this one here, the web.zoom, something like this, vidzz.us, instead of just using the authorized one here that we see .zoom.us extension. So trust your instincts. If something looks off from a web address, contact the meeting organizer if you're in doubt. There are, of course, various types of attacks that are being launched against Zoom and Teams, such as listening into video conferencing calls or eavesdropping, Zoom bombing, which is interrupting and disrupting meetings, and creating fake login screens to steal credentials. So continuing on from the last slide, here are some other security steps to consider. It's good practice if you're a meeting organizer to change the meeting ID links frequently to minimize chances of hackers gaining ongoing access to your meetings. Avoid downloading attachments which purport to have meeting details enclosed. This could be a phishing scam. Use the waiting room feature if available to manually approve participants who should be joining the meetings. Lock the meeting when everyone has joined to prevent unwanted guests, and choose a strong password to enter the meeting. And then finally, avoid using social media when sharing meeting links, as this is a risky practice by its nature. So let's talk a little bit about phishing risks. Before I start, there is a more detailed section or video covering phishing risks on my channel, which includes the traditional types and AI enabled phishing attacks. So just look at that for, again, the link is dposolutions.privacy. Anyway, email phishing risks. So working remotely brings an increased risk of phishing emails, as workers are much more likely to be accessing personal email inboxes as well as the traditional corporate emails. Personal email accounts such as Gmail and Hotmail do not have the same level of security screening as corporate ones like you might see with Microsoft Exchange, meaning that you need to be extra vigilant when you're working remotely. So clicking on links can lead to ransomware. Some examples are included in the next slide. Obviously, the ransomware links can be downloaded malware onto your machine and then become even more devastating as they spread onto corporate networks and lock machines. It's important to note that ransomware is the #1 threat to systems today, as it's a method for hackers to steal and encrypt data, often costing customers and companies millions of dollars. In short, it's critical that remote workers avoid clicking on unexpected or unusual email links and take the time to sanity check email content and source email addresses. In addition to the ransomware threat are the risks around identity theft, where some links may lead you to a site that looks like a banking site or delivery companies such as UPS, FedEx, etc. Some of these types are also covered in the next slides. So note then on ransomware, it's a worldwide, clear and present danger in the cybersecurity and privacy space, with millions of attacks happening every year. And now what we're seeing is much more AI-enabled attacks, which are really driving these attacks up at scale. But many times these ransomware cases are not reported, and it's not clear what percentage of the time ransoms are actually paid. Ransomware programs are also quite crafty and unpredictable in that they seek out to attack data backup locations as well. And in a third of cases, data was irrecoverable even after the ransom was paid. In many cases, decryption keys don't work, and the FBI advises against paying ransoms as the perpetrators will be encouraged to strike again. The second ransom is where the real privacy risk occurs, of course, where the data is stolen and sold on the black market. So in this slide, I'm just showing you some common phishing attacks. They're not all encompassing, of course. These are just an example of a few. So of course, beware of emails asking you to recover or update your credentials, your passwords and usernames. Then beware of emails or text messages with order tracking links for products you haven't ordered. Check the service provider's website directly if you're not sure, and not clicking on the link in the email that you're suspicious of course. Then be wary of emails with the sense of urgency to take an action, particularly if it's not a usual type request. And then watch out for unusual invoice requests, e.g. from unfamiliar emails or containing unusual payment methods or attachments. There are, of course, many more types of attack methods. Increasingly, as I mentioned, AI-enabled attacks are using very targeted types of emails that seem to purport to be from HR or benefits, or even from the company CEO asking you to take some kind of an action, which may be unexpected, but of course, you may think of it as a trusted party. Be sure to check with your manager or to follow the company policy when it comes to suspicions. And sometimes it's just a good practice to contact the IT security or other designated person within your organization if you're unsure in any way at all. So just going to show then in the next two slides an example of phishing emails and text messages. So this one here that looks to be from PayPal, if we hover over the top dot here, we show that hackers are increasingly using brands and emails from what looks to be from authorized or well-known addresses, such as in this case, paypal.com, which obviously looks to be legitimate. However, as we read down through the email, we'll see that there are some inconsistencies that you need to be aware of. So this one here, we look at the second dot, it's wanting you to take an action, which is to click on a link. So it's using a prominent blue button that you would associate with PayPal to try and entice you to click on this malicious link. But if you look closely at the link, however, the domain is paypai.com, similar but not the same as paypal.com. And then as we look over the footer, and what the attacker is doing is this looks to be legitimate PayPal footer. We have the logo and store, of course. So it's creating that layer of authenticity and hoping that you don't think that the relying on you being a busy person and not taking the time really to look too hard at the makeup of the email, which is exactly what the hacker wants. So this text message example, what we see is a simulation of a mobile screen where you've just received a text from what looks to be from UPS parcel delivery. Obviously, a message like this is designed to get your attention and make viewers think like, well, maybe I did receive a parcel. Maybe I should just take a look at this. But then as you hover over, as you look at the message itself, it looks like it might be legitimate. And there's a time pressure to act in that it says it's out for delivery, which of course is going to grab your attention. But of course, by clicking on the link itself, it will take you to a cloned UPS site where you're likely to be asked to pay a delivery charge or perhaps create a email account, or rather just an account to grab your personal details and siphon off your personal data. Then the last dot here, you'll see that there's a load preview. This just brings you to the same website. Basically, it's all designed, the text message is designed to get your attention, designed to get you to click on the link and steal your personal data, or perhaps have you pay a fraudulent delivery charge. So what about personal data storage? Well, it's very important to avoid storing personal data or passwords which are unencrypted on local drives, phones, cloud storage, or network shares. It's also very important to understand that sharing files via personal webmail, email, social media is also very risky. So why is all this important? Well, it's very much easier for hackers to steal personal data when it's not encrypted. So if you do have personal data stored on your local or removable drives or network shares, it's very important to ensure that data access is controlled through encryption and strong passwords. And from the second point here on personal email, platforms like Hotmail, Gmail, and other free email providers do not encrypt data when it's sent. So a hacker may be able to intercept any personal data when you send it in plain text, data such as credit card numbers, customer details, addresses, etc. So the golden rule here is to ensure everything is encrypted by default. So let's talk about PDF downloads and the dangers of PDF attachments. So PDF email attachments are now the most common form of introducing malware to organizations, with 2/3 of the attacks just recorded out there starting with a downloaded PDF. Users may not be aware that malicious code, encrypted files, and malicious URL links may be embedded in PDFs. So often malware is quietly introduced via this method, causing huge impact on businesses in terms of business interruption, theft of customer data, and subsequent investigations. Email users can easily be tricked, as most PDFs in the workplace look legitimate. There are a couple of examples over here, ones with alleged attachments for summonses or court documents, then other ones for account lockouts, or perhaps that your account, in this case an Apple ID, has been suspended, placed on temporary hold. The important thing here is to look at any emails and view them as suspicious unless you're absolutely sure of the sender. So take a second look when emails come in with PDF attachments or other attachments with that fact. PDFs are not the only ones. There are other ones, scripts and so forth. So be extra vigilant with downloads that are in email form or that you see from untrustworthy sources. So let's conclude the content area of this course by looking at 6 ways to prevent phishing. As phishing is the number one threat, I'm just going to spend that little bit of extra time delving deep into some avoidance steps that can help you. So it's important to note that it is impossible to stop phishing, particularly in the age of AI-enabled phishing, but there are steps that you can take. So avoid public Wi-Fi connections, as I mentioned earlier, when using your laptop or cell phone. Hackers can intercept your communications, and therefore data privacy could be compromised. Next, set a second form of authentication for your online accounts. You might see this as Google two-factor authentication or some other form where it asks you to enter a passphrase, etc. Then ensure that your data is backed up to an off-network location, such as onto a cloud. And then avoid using work email for personal reasons, such as for non-work related online subscriptions and filling out forms. Hackers can harvest your work email and passwords in an effort to attack your device and company systems. Again, make sure to set strong passwords for all your accounts and change them regularly. Use an approved password manager and generator as appropriate. If you're not using a password manager, consider using longer passphrases with the 16 characters at least and multiple words. These are more difficult to be defeated by a automated means that hackers might use. And then update your browser when prompted in the notification window. Browser vulnerabilities are very common as an attack vector today. So make sure that your browser is updated and ensure that any browser plugins or add-ins are authorized, that you're not using unsupported browser plugins, which could introduce a security vulnerability into your organization. So now we come to the quiz section, which consists of 5 questions. But don't worry, I'm just going to guide you through each one and give you a few seconds to answer on your own. Basically just to help you or remind you of the topics that we've covered up to now. So first question, which one of these is considered a strong password? Is it the first one, Lock the Mountain High, Bobby 13, 123456781, 08_09_1985? If you chose this one, it would be correct. It's a strong password with a mix of alphanumeric and special characters. The others are relatively easy to guess by hacker programs, which will put these words through dictionary type attacks and probably resolve them in a few minutes. Next question. Which one of these is a good practice for securing your video conference meetings? Is it 1, sharing the meeting link on a social media? 2, using the same meeting ID for every meeting? 3, choosing a strong password for entry to the meeting? 4, keeping the meeting unlocked? The answer is choose a strong password for entry to the meeting. So strong passwords should be used to prevent hackers from getting in or guessing the meeting passwords. Next question. You see a security pop-up alert on your home computer saying malware has been detected. What do? Do you ignore the message? VPN into work and look for a solution on the web? Call the IT help desk and ask for assistance? Or try to find the malware yourself and resolve the issue? Correct answer is call the IT help desk and ask for assistance. It's always advisable to ask the help desk when a security problem has been detected. Next, which one of these is a good practice when working with personal data? Is it A, sharing it via a personal email account? 2, using encryption with a strong password anytime it's stored? 3, sending it via direct messenger when it's needed? Or D, accessing it over a public Wi-Fi connection? The answer is B. The others are examples of high-risk ways of handling the issue. Then the next question, question 4. Which one of these is not advisable when using Wi-Fi to connect to work? Is it A, using public Wi-Fi access? B, changing the SSID from broadcast to hidden? C, using WPA2 encryption? Or D, changing your Wi-Fi password? It's A, using public Wi-Fi access. So that concludes the quiz. 100%. So let's move on. So this brings us to the risk recap for the course. So just here on section 1, remember to use longer, complex passwords for all your personal and business accounts. Use a password manager to help store unique passwords for each account so that you're not sharing your passwords across multiple personal or work accounts. 2, avoid using public Wi-Fi, such as those found in coffee shops, municipal Wi-Fi networks, and libraries, airports as well. 3, check that video conference links are from trusted sources and don't open attachments which allege to have conference call details. 4, be extra vigilant with PDF attachments, particularly with emails that mention account, invoice, or statement, and particularly more so if they are unexpected or from an unrecognized source. And 5, social media risks. Never share passwords or meeting links on social media. And also don't share personal detail on like customer details, addresses, credit card details on social media, as they're inherently risky and open to hacking. And then lastly, when in doubt, if you're not sure, call your help desk or security department. The risks of ignoring these type of risks we discussed are too high. Too many companies have run into serious problems, even some of them up to the point of closure due to opening a phishing email or some other consequence, which was obviously not desired. So then this brings us to the last slide. This is just a recap of some of our services that you might find. You can visit us on the web at data-privacy.io/shop. You can see the link here where you can find security training courses, training aids, and templates. Then if you're interested in live training, you can contact me here using this link on Calendly. And then on the training material side of things, I do offer monthly micro training learning and 20 to 30 minute session presentations, posters, and handout materials which may be useful for your organization. You can email me there at info@data-privacy.io. Thanks for watching, and make sure you subscribe to the channel so you keep up to date on the latest threats. Lots of new stuff coming out in 2026 regarding AI and the EU AI regulation, etc. Thanks for watching.